The Citizenship Amendment Bill passed by the Lok Sabha last month is likely to get stuck in the upper house even as the last parliament session comes to an end. However, the amendments to the law that prescribes who can be a citizen of India and who can't has caused huge protests across the northeast. In the latest, the son of Bharat Ratna awardee and legendary singer Bhupen Hazarika has spoken out against the Citizenship Amendment Bill, saying he would like to reject the Bharat Ratna award to protest the legislation. The opposition against the bill is being seen among several chief ministers in the northeast, including some from the BJP and other alliance partners who are wary of the changes. Now, to understand why the Citizenship Amendment Bill has become a flashpoint in the northeast and what it really means for the BJP's recent political gains in the region, I'm joined now by Paljor, senior journalist, editor-in-chief of East Mojo, and Sanjoy Hazarika, author and northeast expert. Welcome to both of you and thank you for speaking with us today. Mr. Hazarika, I want to start by just understanding what is the basic concern and why all the protests against the Citizenship Amendment Bill in the Northeast?
See, for one thing, the Citizenship Amendment Bill is specifically for 6 minority groups in the 3 countries of Bangladesh, Afghanistan and Pakistan, who may have come on long-term visas or illegally to India. And it sets a cutoff date of 2014. It not include, obviously, because it is said to be focused on people who fled religious persecution. It's leaving out Muslims. And the concern in places like Assam and other places is that whether a person who has come illegally has to be dealt with according to law, not by his or her religion. And the bill has there's a fundamental issue of whether it can stand the test of especially Article 14. The second is that as far as the state of Assam is concerned, for 33 years now, 33 and a half years, there's been in place what's called the Assam Accord, which says very clearly the cutoff date for citizenship for people entering India is March 25th, 1971, which is the creation of Bangladesh. And that those who came after that point needed to be detected and deported. Now, it's not been a very effective process at all. But the thing is that there is something called the Assam Accord, which is state-specific. It is to deal with a specific issue at a specific time. And suddenly you say that 2014 is the cutoff year. And you're talking about 3 countries, but most of the illegal Muslims and Hindus has come largely from Bangladesh. And everybody knows that. So the government has not really been able to convince people in the Northeast, whether it's their own allies or their own party people, who have gone on record opposing this process in Meghalaya, in Manipur, in other states, even in Assam, that this will not be something that will adversely impact the region. So it's not been convincing. And there's the Assam and other states are really on edge. For instance, Manipur is under parts of Manipur are under curfew. Meghalaya and other states, the ruling dispensation has said that we'll take a call on if the bill is passed, we could break off with the BJP.
Yeah.
So this is actually adversely affecting the party and its image across the region, even among its supporters.
No, so Karma, give us some perspective here. The fact that this bill discriminates against who India will accept based on the religion of the migrant has been opposed and discussed in great deal. Even when the bill was passed in the Lok Sabha, it has gotten stuck in the parliamentary process because of this discrepancy. But why has the issue caught the imagination of people on a larger scale across states, of course in Assam as well, but in other northeastern states as well? What is the worry? What is the key concern?
Well, the worry clearly is, if you look at the chatter, if you go to tea stalls across Assam right now in Guwahati, if you speak to people, the fear is that you are going to be overrun. You're going to be overrun by illegal immigrants. That is the fear that is there, not just among the seniors, because we track a very young audience of about 18 plus to about 35. If you listen to the online chatter, if you go meet them around and speak to them, the fear is that you will be overrun. They give examples of a state like Tripura too, where the indigenous people, that's the problem there, the tribals, the indigenous people, they feel that they will be overrun. So the voices that you hear right now across the Northeast, the fear clearly is that people are going to come across. And the other point that Sanjoy Hazarika raised is that the proper information, education of people on the ground, getting the leaders who are with them into confidence, explaining what it really is, has not really happened. So people do not know. People are ill-equipped to understand what clearly is going to happen. The other big problem is that documentation, proper documentation does not. And we all know how easy it is to cross across from the border and get a voter ID card or a driving license or all the credentials that is needed to prove that you're an Indian citizen. It does not cost much at all. And several investigations have proved that. So the fear is that we are going to be overrun.
Okay, being overrun is at the root cause of it. Is that also why, and this question is to Karma again, why key political players, including some of those who were allying with the BJP, now are sort of doing a U-turn because they see the
That's right. I mean, it's not just parties who are allying with the BJP, isn't it? Because we heard from Pema Khandu, who's the BJP chief minister of Arunachal Pradesh. The state is going to elections, polls very soon. You heard from Biren Singh, also the chief minister of Manipur yesterday. They've clearly said that this is against the people of their respective states. Even as the chief minister of Manipur yesterday battled very ugly scenes right there in the city, capital city, where the popular mothers market or the Ima market there, all the ladies there have gathered, and they're a very feisty lot to protest this Citizenship Amendment Bill, and they were evicted by force. They were tear gassed. Several women got hurt, and these pictures were played out across. And there still is a lot of anger in the street. Today, there's no internet in Manipur, so it's very difficult to get any visuals or any information out of Manipur. But yes, on the ground, there's clearly a lot of anger.
Mr. Hazarika, can you explain to us where this fits in with the protests we saw in Assam recently against the National Registry of Citizens, or the NRC process? Because that sparked concerns that, people who have been in Assam from a long time, and a lot of them minorities, would be expelled all of a sudden. That had a complete different cycle. How does that sit in with what we right now with the Citizenship Amendment Bill?
See, let me make a few things fairly as clear as possible. One is the NRC has political acceptance across the board. It was started in a slow manner during the Congress time. It's picked up pace at this time. The problem with the NRC, as people, certainly I see it, is that it is not done as competently as it should have been, and there are elements of prejudice. Because a Bangladeshi is somebody who's come from Bangladesh, which was created in 1971. Anybody before that time is not a Bangladeshi. And there's this broad brush sort of description of people, even who've come before them, who've been there for a very long time, whose forebears have been there, as Bangladeshis. Now, that is not acceptable. So, having been said, the NRC is a process which needs to be completed with competently, legally, and without prejudice. And that is something that I was in a public hearing in Guwahati the other day. And there are people who are ex-army officers, people who are the grandchildren of people to testify that they're not on the list or testified as doubtful voters, therefore they can't make the voting cut. So there's a lot of complication in this process which needs to be addressed. And at least there is a little more time than December 31. You have until, I think, June end for clarifications and corrections. But it's important to note that out of 40 lakh people, 39 lakh odd who didn't make the cut in the NRC in December, in December, at least now or earlier, sorry, you have a situation where 32 lakh or so have actually filed counterclaims, saying that they've been left out improperly and they needed to be put on. So I think this is important to understand that, and there are concerns in Assam, as have been stated by government leaders in Assam, that a large number of those who may be left out could be Hindus from Bangladesh. Now, if you link that to the citizenship bill, then perhaps the latter makes sense in a way, a political sense. If you came illegally, they've been found to be illegal, but because they will be covered by this amendment, therefore you absorb. That is something that is really not being accepted.
Karma, explain this a bit further to us, because from what I'm hearing, it seems to me that if the NRC was a movement to strike off or remove illegal immigrants from any rights of citizenship. Now, the Citizenship Amendment Bill ensures that even if there are non-Muslims amongst that list, they will be fine, which leaves a very specific minority which is sort of left out of that process. And you're saying that that is not a point of contention at all in all of these protests that we're seeing?
No, Tamanna, I think this is a technical question. I think Sanjoy would be in a much better position to explain this, as far as the cutoff dates are concerned. Sanjoy has been talking about one cutoff date, which is 1970. And this, of course, is another date that the government has given. So I don't know whether it would be pertinent to confuse the two or not. And Sanjoy Hazarika, of course, will be the right person to answer this question.
Okay, Sanjoy, let me...
That's an easy cop-out, Karma.
I know, but since he's a former colleague, I allowed him that one. One of you have to answer, because, it seems like a very specific point. When the NRC process started, they were concerned that people would be left out, but if they're not Muslims, then they'll be okay because of the Citizenship Amendment Bill. But that's not really a concern, is it, Sanjoy? The concern is that now there will be more migrants coming in, or the ones who are there will stay here?
No, I think that, for instance, the question you're asking whether more migrants will come in, there is a process of migration in this part of the world, in every part of the world, all of us in somewhere else. But if you go to the NRC per se, I think the issue there is who's going to be left out, and it'll be people of all communities. And if you see that in connection, all the people are saying it's not connected to the citizenship bill, you see who's left out and who will benefit from the passage of the citizenship bill. Then it becomes fairly clear, no?
Yeah. It does become fairly clear. I want to now come to the political question, because as we head to
let me, just a minute, let me interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
The goalposts are being changed from 71 to 2014. And that is the point of contention. When you have an agreement that is, if not set in stone, it has been placed in Parliament, is accepted across the board by all parties, including the BJP earlier, why do you have now a bill that seeks to change the goalposts and allow people to become citizens who've come in post that cutoff date? So this is the key thing, and this is what people are agitated about. And the government
that's
has
important.
not been able to answer that question clearly. And the DIB, the director of the Intelligence Bureau, said to the JPC that 31,000 odd people who came on long-term visas would be the direct beneficiaries, and those are largely located in Western India.
Okay. That also brings me to an important point, which is a difference of understanding. And Karma, I'm going to come to you again. Hopefully you will answer the question. Difference of understanding of, Hindu-Muslim issues in the Northeast from the rest of the country. From what I'm gathering from this conversation, in the Northeast, the issue is that we don't want outsiders. We don't care what the religion is, but we have a problem with outsiders. In the rest of the country and some parts of the country, it's looked at as more of a Hindu-Muslim issue.
Foreigners. You must make a difference.
Foreigners, illegal migrants.
Not outsiders.
Okay, foreigners. Yeah. So I think that's an important distinction which needs to be made, isn't that, Karma?
That is the distinction that needs to be made. Then, if you first look at the Constitution of India, then this bill, of course, goes against the Constitution of India one. Then the second point that you pointed out very rightly is that when you travel across the Northeast and you talk about the Citizenship Amendment Bill, it is not about a particular religion. It is about foreigners, illegal immigrants per se, who have come in, who have settled down, and also those who are wishing to come in. As we speak, from these porous borders, there are hundreds of people who are pouring in. Yes, that's the reality. And as I said earlier, it is easy to get, the identification that you need to stay here. That is the real fear. So the people, if you talk to people here, they fear that there are about 1.3 crore more Bangladeshis who are willing to cross over and come into Assam. So that people fear is going to change the demographics of this entire region. So I think people are fed up. That's what they are standing for. And for the first time, you can see the entire Northeast come together, speak in one voice. Any story that we put out on the Citizenship Amendment Bill, you hear support, you hear camaraderie. I think for the first time, people from Manipur, people from Mizoram speaking in the same tone that they are against it. So this has clearly brought together all the states of the Northeast, I would say.
Okay, so then let me come to political implications, Karma, because Lok Sabha elections in just a couple of months from now. Just give me a minute, Mr. Hazarika, I'll come to you. But, the point I'm trying to make from the Northeast, in the Lok Sabha, the BJP is placing its bets because in the last 4-5 years, their expansion in the Northeast has been in Assam and Tripura. They've done very well themselves. What does this mean? What does this anger that you're talking about, Karma, mean for the BJP's prospects in the Northeast?
So one of the chief ministers I recently spoke to, said that he feared that once the Citizenship Amendment Bill would come, he said that people will burn down homes of some of the BJP leaders. So that is the kind of fear that is clearly coming from a person who heads a state. So there is clearly a fear that this is going to happen on the ground. Some would say, are you fear-mongering? But I would say not, if you really listen to the voice of the people on the ground. Now, if you look at what BJP has done, yes, they've done a great job. The Prime Minister has reached out to the Northeast. He's been one Prime Minister who's come to the Northeast like never before. He's here practically all the time. Every month you have the Prime Minister visiting. So while he's tried to get the Northeast into the mainstream, while he's tried to, say that Northeast is the future of India, gateway to Southeast Asia and things like that, it can be undone with one step that the government is taking right now. And that is clearly happening on the ground, if you see clearly, because, you had their own chief ministers now turn around and say, we do not want this bill. And it is, of course, going to harm their electoral prospects going ahead and any political prospects have. So that is the fear.
Mr. Hazarika, you want to come in on that interesting point Karma made there, that all strides that the BJP has made in the Northeast could be undone with this one piece of legislation?
Before I do that, can I just make another point? Bangladesh has a border with India across several states, including Assam, which actually has the smallest border with Bangladesh, over 1,000 plus kilometers. 3,100 kilometers are fenced. The rest, there are 52 rivers which flow into Bangladesh and hundreds of streams and smaller rivulets. Those can't obviously be fenced, and there are marshes and all that. I don't quite agree with Karma when he says that these people, waiting to pour across the border. I mean, Those who have come, and they will continue to come. But the law of migration across the world is that people don't really come to a place which is hostile to them. They will continue to come in smaller numbers. And, that is something that we do need to understand. And there's a lot of fear and concern among different communities in the Northeast, in Assam, that they may be targeted as a result of this, both of the Citizenship Bill and the movements against it. So this is a matter of deep concern that have to be assuaged of minority groups. And I'm thinking of linguistic minorities as well as religious minorities. And as far as the impact on the BJP, you can see the impact. I mean, the BJP state is of Manipur is shut down. There's no internet. There, the BJP chief, the chief minister of Meghalaya, with whom I spoke the other day, he was quite clear that this bill will harm their own interests. So why would they support? You're hitting at the constituency of your allies, and you expect them to support. And frankly, the problem has been there has been no real dialogue. The JPC going is one thing. Then at the last minute, ministers coming and saying, this will not harm your interests, and so on. Even the Prime Minister saying that wasn't cut because the situation has so far gone to against the notion of this bill, not just notion of it.
Yeah, it's a political misstep, no doubt, coming at a very important time for JP. But I think the bigger picture here is its implications for the people of the Northeast, why there is a fear and concerns there. And even on the basis of justice done, should the Citizenship Amendment Bill being singling out certain religious communities from certain nations only, to be given this opportunity to be citizens of India, and should there be discrimination on the basis of religion? A lot of questions there, and I want to thank Paljor and Sanjoy Hazarika for helping us understand some of them today.